Need I, dare I ask? How many people are going to Google that? You can have live wire up here and everything else. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Okay, let's start off. 12 steps. This is 12 steps. We've been standing fixed. We're 12 acceptance of the constant target. Here, 24 questionnaires acting annually. And I'm pressing on achievement. 1. I dedicate 1 hour a day to make myself confidence. 2. I practice myself. 3. I contact my spirit. I help, I follow, and our person. And I support. 4. I make contact with me. I trust today. I follow our person. 5. I follow the contact today. 6. I set my limits to myself. 7. I completely follow my person. 8. I have feelings. 9. I follow myself. 10. I self-study practice and all. I'm going up the rails on a crazy trail. 12. I overcome all my parents. All my parents. It's not a back of the street. Last time, listen to respect. I recognize the sense. I listen to preachers. Therefore, I commit to all Alright, first, I know that I have to who make their rules. Therefore, I hand myself to exact what condition. I hear now problems for such action. Second, I realize how many thoughts my mind will be. Try to transport themselves into reality. Therefore, I'll concentrate myself on the same. I'll interact with the Therefore, I create my mind to the Third, I hope it's all my mind. I can't hear you! I can't hear you! Huh? We can't hear you! Let's go! Come on! Third! I know what it is. Yes. Therefore, I will go Lord, I have clearly written down the description of my efforts to change my life, and I will never stop trying until I self develop something more about what's great. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth exists in the long door unless built properly to justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transactions without my wrong effects. I will succeed by attracting myself towards the things to use, and while I praise other people, I will do others serve me, because I will serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, and self-obsession. I develop love for all humanity, because I know that making actions towards others will bring success. I will cause others to believe me, because I will be with them and myself. I will strive my name's formula, commit its memory, and repeat aloud once a day. Full faith and correction, thoughts and actions, and I will become a self-reliant, successful person. Hoorah! Hey, now I'm the voice! I'm the voice! I believe not follow! I believe not follow! I believe not doubt! I believe not doubt! I will create not destroy! I will create not destroy! I am a force for good! I am a force for good! I am a leader! I am a leader! Defy the odds! Defy the odds! Set new standards! Set new standards! Step up! Step up! Step up! Step up! Step up! Step up! Hey, I'm a professional salesperson. Get one soul. I use information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my business right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are about to be money. I know these things to see. I get stronger with every step. I'm master every situation. My confidence is able to put up with clarity. I always have productive thoughts. I take this care of my body. I study state with my integrity. I am task oriented. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want when I get it. I attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude is the limit of my success. I make prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I know that money will take profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I am eager to start each day. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat healthy foods. I am a real estate expert. My SOI expects me to be a real estate expert. I am a professional. I am passionate. I appreciate these and others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call inspired to sell my orders. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy walking this rock. Keep our track from the hill. I used to call it see. Like a magic summer and play. I'm now sitting over. I'm about later. I know how to succeed. I keep calling, trying. Yes! Warning. Warning.
That was a great affirmation.
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Awesome.
Awesome. Why are you doing awesome? It's great.
Live. There wasn't a chalk liner on my body this morning, so it's a start.
All right. Okay. All right. Anybody else? You got rid of your mustache.
Talking to me?
I'm not talking to Brenda Lee. I can barely that.
Yeah, I'm talking to Brenda.
I have it here.
Oh, I know. You get the whole thing. It's all gone and clean. All right. Good deal. Tyler, you know, a couple years ago, he wasn't able to grow that, so he was. I know. I'm just saying that because I can't grow something either. So it's all good. So, welcome everybody. Glad to have you guys here. So, here we are. We are already, can you believe it? A month has already gone past. And at this stage in the game, oftentimes we kind of forget what we started at the beginning of the year. So, I want to have us think a little bit about where we are in line with this, because beginning of the year, you know, we put together our business plans. We've talked a lot leading up to the tail end of last year, the beginning of this year. Make sure you get your business plans that are put together. What are you doing in order to hit those goals? And our business plans, generally, with our goals that we set, they are oftentimes monumental. And when you think of it for the entire year, that is a huge accomplishment. But then life gets in the way, and we stop looking at that business plan. We stop looking at our goals, and then before it gets too late, we never did look at our goals or business plans, and we're like, okay, wait, I can't accomplish that. So I want to make sure that we're moving in the right direction this year, so that we can already talk about at the end of the year what you've been able to accomplish. So without a show of hands, you know, are we on line with what we have set at the beginning of the month? Are we already kind of, you know, are we continuing to focus on the things that we want to accomplish? Because when we break those goals down on a, you know, monthly, weekly, daily basis, those goals are extremely achievable. But when we forget about those goals, when we don't, you know, we lose sight of what we ultimately want, next thing we know, a month has already gone by, and we were like, what happened? How did that go? So, are we on line with what we've put together? Are we on line with the direction that we're headed? We talked, if you haven't listened to the morning message this morning, George talks about purpose. You know, what is our purpose? Are we driven towards a specific thing? You know, what is it that moves us? It's that purpose, and you can take the same thing with the purpose. One big, huge purpose is what is going to get us to the end of the year. Okay, great. We'll do the same thing on just like the number of homes we plan on selling. If you focus on that large goal, that becomes sometimes overwhelming. But if you break it up based on how many you need to do this month, how many calls you need to make this week, today, it becomes extremely manageable. Same thing with your purpose. You may have a purpose that is something that is going to be focusing on for the entire year, next 3 years, next 5 years, whatever that may be. But now break up that purpose even more. You know, what is it that drives you for the next 30 days? What is it that drives you for the next week? What is it that, you know, sometimes it is very difficult to even think that far in advance. So what are we, you know, what could be our purpose just for today? You know what? Maybe you haven't started the year the way that you would hope that you would. But that doesn't mean that you can't make today exactly what you had in mind when you put together your business plan. Do you have the ability today to do what you say you're going to do? Absolutely you do.
I just heard this yesterday from Jason Hewlett online, a speaker. He said, why set a goal when you can make a promise? So I thought that was very profound, because as realtors, we keep our promises. That's part of
I like that.
our integrity, the code of ethics, what we do. What about making a promise to ourselves and looking at it as a promise
I like that.
rather than a goal? So why make a goal? Why set a goal when you can make a promise?
I like that. It's very good. So what are you going to promise to do today?
Pick up the phone and talk to 5 people.
Okay. Well, we know that oftentimes it's that first, second, third person we talk to is the scariest. And then once we get to 4, 5, 6 on 10, that is what changes things and makes things much easier.
If that's what you focus on, those first 3 calls, you probably will have call avoidance, not get on at all.
I like that.
But you got to quit focusing on the positive
Pain.
and negative outcome.
Pain. Focus on the positive side of it.
And I like 10x. I think that we set our goals and we try to structure them so they're reachable. He says, man, if you want to make 100,000, that's your goal. You want to make 100,000? Well, if you make 75, well, you're a failure. But if you 10 times it, that's $1 million. And you only hit 25% of your goal, that's 250,000. So I think we don't set. I think we limit ourselves on how much we can do. And if you add to that the slogan of one more, do one more.
I like that. Okay, so be thinking to yourself real quick, where are you in line with what you set at the beginning of the year? Because it is very easy to fall off course, especially, we're at the beginning stage of this. And it's this constant, if you want to say review, we have to, we have to look at what the direction that we're headed to make sure that we're in line with what we're trying to accomplish. If we get too far down the road, then we oftentimes well, there's no way I can achieve what I was trying to achieve this year. So I've got to just readjust, create a new business plan to get me to the end of the year. No, you don't. Are you looking at your business plans that you put together? First off, hopefully everyone has put together your business plan. If you have not, you should have one of your brokers that you can be sitting down a meeting with, making sure that they put that in line with you. If you don't know who your broker is, we can answer that question for you as well. So every one of you guys should have that opportunity to meet with your broker, get your business plan together. If you have put together your business plan, then the key part now is, okay, where are you in line with that? So quickly, 30 days have gone by. So we look at it and say, we have the ability every single day to look at what is important to us. And you can look at that in many different ways. For those of you that have other people, significant others, children, whatever in your lives, those tend to be great motivators. When we either look at our significant others, we look at our children, we might even want to look at, say, how do they think of us? Are they looking at us the way that we would want them to be looking at us? Oftentimes we think of a great motivator ends up being, what do I want to set, we've heard this before, as a legacy for myself? Who do I want to become? Who do I want to be? Is that the motivator that we're using for today in order to accomplish that? That can be a lifelong goal, lifelong direction, lifelong structure that we head towards, but it can also be broken down into things that are often smaller. Who do I want to become this year? Who do I want to become this month? Who do I want to become? Sometimes it's tough. Who do I want to be just today so I can accomplish what I set my mind out to do? Are you on track? It's very easy once we get through the chaos of the tail end of every year to get right back into the swing of things. I can't believe it's already been 30 days. It's unbelievable. But it moves. Time is just continues to go. What are some thoughts? Brenda Lee?
She wasn't paying attention.
I was paying attention. I'm just reviewing, I'm thinking about my goals, and I'm thinking where I'm at, and I'm just way behind, but it doesn't freak me out, because I know it's a numbers game, and I'll just get back on track. I'm not gonna change my numbers, I'm just gonna change my approach.
And there's also plenty of time to do that. But as long as you keep focusing and seeing what your goals are, you don't lose sight of it. Again, I'm not asking for a show of hands, but have you, for those of you that wrote your business plan, have you gone back and looked at what your goal was? I know many times I've put that on the shelf. Well, that's not supposed to be on the shelf. That's supposed to be right in front of us. We've spent time putting together dream boards. We've spent time doing a lot of things. Those are there to help us achieve those. First, Jay.
Well, I think that we need to keep in mind too, when we write our business plan, we're looking at it as a chunk of 12 months. And the flag drops on January 1. If your business plan starts on January 1, there's no way in January you can
30
do
days
it.
behind, or 90 days behind.
You basically had to be set up in November, December last year. So if you weren't able to set up for that, I don't think that January should be a discouraging point for you. I wouldn't say February is. As long as by the end of the third quarter, you're getting the numbers that you said you were going to hit.
Sure.
And everything will work out in the end.
I agree with that. Thank you.
I know one thing I did recently to just help me be more comfortable and stay on track is actually show my wife the business plan I married my broker. And I said, hey, here's the goal for 2019. Just want you to know what it is. Keep me accountable and just make sure I'm out there grinding and working. And I think it's really helpful for her to see that because, you know, if you have a family, it's important that everybody's on track and that everybody shares that same vision.
Something tells me maybe even next year you might involve your wife. Because it's oftentimes, even though this is what you're doing at the work, that's a partnership that's going together that you guys can create together and then hold each other accountable on how that's going. But that's a great motivator. I know some other agents that have do not want their wife to know what their plan is because they will hold them accountable. So it is a great motivator to make sure that works. So that's a great idea.
And I heard over the weekend, there was a quote from somebody that I was listening to. He said, commitment will get you to the starting line, consistency will get you to the finish line. And so I think oftentimes we look at the first of the year and our goals, right, as committing to something, but it's like you said, 3 weeks in and you're already off track or you're already doing what you're not supposed to be doing. And just an echo to what Brenda Lee's saying, it's the consistency of that day in and day out of what you're supposed to be doing, right, despite how you feel, like George always talks about. So I think, you know, that statement to me was profound, is commitment will get you to the starting line, consistency gets you to the finish line.
It's the other, I can't think of the book, but it's talking about, you know, are you a starter or are you a finisher? And consistency is what is going to get you across the line. We oftentimes, all of us will start something, but are we one that's going to actually finish something? So I hand over here.
Yeah. Well, every day I make sure I do 1 or 2 things to get into my training. That's my purpose. Every day.
That's excellent.
1 or 2 things that I'll be sure that it's there this day and yesterday.
Well, every day you're learning. Every day you're improving. Every day you're getting better.
Yeah.
So it's excellent. It's great.
And you know, I just want to add, no matter what you've done in the last 30 days, don't dwell on what has passed. Just work harder to maybe make up your goal. If you were trying to close 2 transactions or get 2 under contract, I think you can reset every day and start working on your schedule at that moment and say what is the most effective and just go from that point forward and move forward and look straight ahead and be consistent as much as you can and reset every day.
There are 2 things about this industry that often come to mind, and the one is our current circumstances do not equal our future. And for those of you that have not had this experience. If you've been in the business long enough, I promise you, you will. But we talk about it. In an instant, your position can change. You can go from having absolutely no business, and then all of a sudden something comes your way from the efforts that you've been working. And I know there's a lot of other stuff that's been going on, but I just want to shout out to Keith. He's outside my door, so I can see a lot. But he is constantly on the phone right now, which is fantastic. Awesome. Keep doing that. That hard work that comes your way, you have, I mean, we talked about it tail end of last year in December, where business came within, was there anyone in here that within a 2 to 3 week time frame, they got the business and closed the transaction? Okay? So right here, very quickly, something can come your way. I'm not saying it just might fall in your lap, but it might be hard work that's also getting you there, putting yourself in the position to receive it. But you have the opportunity in a very, very quick time frame to go from a circumstance, what you might think, oh, what am I going to do? I can't do this, that, or the other. And all of a sudden, something comes your way because you put yourself in front of the truck or whatever. You put yourself in that position to get that business. And all of a sudden, now you've got, it's a large enough transaction that changes your outcome immediately. This business has the ability of doing that. There's not very many out there that can. So if you don't, where my direction is, if you do not lose sight that even though yesterday you may not have done what you're supposed to do, if you focus today, I will do what I said that I'm going to do, what I need to do, you can put yourself in the way of that business that it can find you and change your circumstances. Every single day, if you have that mindset, you can change your circumstances and change your position. That's the beautiful thing about this business. Dwell on that versus the opposite, and you'll have success. Okay? Chris.
Right in line with that, something I remind myself constantly. I don't remember where I read it, but a guy tells himself, remember tomorrow. So think of the activities you're doing today has a direct impact on tomorrow and what happens tomorrow. So, and it also helps me to stop procrastinating to put things off to tomorrow. And a couple other points I really liked. Emotionally, it sounds simple, but a lot of times when we do business plans, we put down numbers that sound good, right? Like 200 grand or 3 or a million or whatever sounds good to me, but you have to be emotionally connected to those numbers. So like you were talking about before, or you were sharing these with your wife, but on top of that, a lot of times before I even put numbers down, I visualize what it is that I want. Then I look at the cost of that, and then I know specifically down to, I mean, if it's like $326,000 or whatever it is, how much I absolutely must make that year because I've connected that to what life looks like. Does that make sense? So you absolutely, numbers have to tell a story, but if that number just sounds good to you, or you're like, golly, I'd like to make twice as much next year, but you have no idea what that looks like and the impact that has on you, it's not nearly as motivating. And once I did that, it changed things for me in going after those numbers. So, and then have two to three numbers that are most important to you daily. So you can bring out your business plan every day and look at where you are in relation to that. But if you break it down to what that daily activity looks like, you're going to see the numbers that matter most to your contacts, your appointments, those things that you absolutely must hit each and every day. So,
well, the number is, it's like you said, it's all it is just a number unless you tie the purpose around it. So your number and your number might be completely different. But if the impact, the significance of what that number represents, you know, if that means that you're able to go on a trip with, take your family here, your children can go to better schools, your wife is now able to get some additional resources to do whatever she's trying to do. That's what that number represents, and ultimately when they're able to accomplish that, for every one of them, they become happier, you become happier. That's what that number represents. Let's take a picture of Rick right now. He's falling asleep on me.
Really?
So,
The only way I could make sense when I tried when I write goals, make it a transaction goal, like how many houses I was gonna sell.
Yeah.
And it just never really got me motivated. What made me motivated is I took a reasonable average sales price. So like for me, I set it at $250,000, and then I took that $7,500 commission, and that's a unit. So if I make a $30,000 commission, that's 3 units. And so that makes it a lot easier to check them off when you look at that number and say, hey, I'm going to accomplish 3 with this one sale. And so bringing people will look at you weird when you set higher unit goals than if you said, lower like a 24 transaction goal. The unit goal can be higher.
absolutely. There's several ways to do it. If you're trying to accomplish dollars, increase your price point or increase your units. There's several ways of doing that. Any other thoughts about this? The whole purpose of today is just, keep your purpose mindful, but don't lose sight of the direction you're going. Okay, we're only into this 30 days. But make sure that you're looking back now what you're trying to accomplish this year, and not, come November when you're really putting, October, November when you're trying to put your next business plan together. Be making sure you're looking at that every single day. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and finish up.
How the hell do we wind up like this? And why weren't we able to see the signs that we missed? I succeed because I have my goal. I like talking to people. I notice more hard to think. I remember people think. I gave my goal. I crash realistic. I know this is my training tool. I like asking questions. I notice I also like these skills. I understand confidence. I improve my skills. I'm happy. I love confidence in my head. I see awesome. I love my life. I'm able to think. I control my thing. I believe in me. I go out and say, I didn't know you was confident. I want to express the service. I didn't know I did. I connect with people. Who are we? I love you. I just don't sound like anything. I lost my game. I said I was sick. I'm not straight. I achieved my goal. I'm real estate